Welcome, everybody, to another episode on a mother's journey to holistic health and healing. I'm so excited to be here. So grateful and blessed to have a new guest today, a new guest that I am really looking forward to connecting with her, having a deep conversation and listening with respect and appreciation and gratitude for her story that she'll be sharing with us and the medicine that she will be bringing for us today and how she has been healing through what she's experienced in motherhood and in her life so far since her healing journey has started. So I know it's going to be a deeply powerful conversation because she and I have already had a pre-podcast chat and it was already very powerful, very moving. And it's going to be a conversation around postpartum healing, grief, spiritual awakening, our purpose, and of course, all of that through motherhood, because that's what this podcast is about, right? And how we're taking that holistic approach, the integrative whole person approach. So yeah, I'm joined by the amazing Brooke Orloff, co-founder of Mone Wellness. She is a doula, a lactation counselor, and a mama who has walked through both trauma and transformation. Okay, we will talk about the realities of her fourth trimester, health, how her personal journey, including the loss of her father and healing through that connection with horses, has shaped how she now supports other moms as well, other mothers. So wherever you are right now, I invite you to take a deep breath and just receive whatever you need from this conversation today. So, without further ado, I'll bring her in. Brooke, come on in. And if there's anything else you want to say to introduce yourself and share with our community, come on in.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Marissa. It's a pleasure to be here and connect with you. Thank you for setting space and for holding this space as well for these conversations. I'm excited to share more and get into it.
Hey, thank you. Well, tell us a bit about your family, like how many children you have and where you're from.
All right, so I'm from San Diego, California. I have 3 babies now. My daughter, the eldest, will be 6 in October, and then my son will be 4 in October, and the youngest, she will be 1 next month.
Okay, so you got 2. Are they Scorpios or are they Virgos?
One is a Scorpio. My daughter's a Scorpio on Halloween. And
we share the
then,
same birthdays?
oh, I
I'm a
love
Halloween
that.
baby too.
Yeah. Yeah. So she actually came 2 weeks early and landed on Halloween. And then my son came 2 weeks late, and he is a Libra.
Mm.
And then the youngest, she's a little Gemini. So,
Well, tell us, what does motherhood look like and feel like for you right now?
right now life is very full. I feel very blessed, obviously, to be able to create the life that I have and with the vision that I have. Yet at the same time, I have this habit of taking on a lot of things. And I think that relates deeper to patterns of seeking, external experiences or things, maybe even to distract from some of the internal work or just being okay in stillness, which, I think goes deeper into my childhood and the way I was raised. But right now it's, 3 young children, homeschooling some. We have a ranch with a number of animals, lots of horses, and also this startup, which is Mone Wellness, a postpartum support app.
Amazing. Yeah. Homeschooling. I love it. We are working on getting my son homeschooled for the first time this coming new year. So that's exciting for us too as well. And I'll have to, connect with you another time to get pointers from you. So, but yeah, that's a lot going on, right? And then the app, the launch of the app, and then postpartum, tending to your little ones. That is a lot. And like you said, I can totally relate to that. Like I think that goes for a lot of us, I think, who can relate, right? Of how we were brought up or patterns we have of certain people's expectations and then our own setting high expectations for ourselves and feeling the need to tackle so many things and getting excited about it. But at the same time, I guess like, why am I really doing this? Kind of like putting a pause, right? Where is this coming from? Is this coming from like a true place of like, yeah, I want to do this, or what is it? So how have you been navigating that? How are you working through that?
Yeah, so I think for a long time I did things more as a distraction or looking to fill a part of me, a void, if you will. And so now I think with more attention and intention, I've been able to really focus on doing the things that really matter and make an impact for, my well-being as well as my unit, as a family and to be of service for community. Um, so it took honestly, I think for me resetting my playmates and playground, if you will, and kind of coming back to self and who I really wanted to be, and then navigating life through that lens, not attached to my identity or my previous identity and a life that I, engaged in maybe before babies too. So it kind of took detaching and resetting and recreating. Um, who I wanna be and who I really am at my core and how I can be of service.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I love that. I think that's also something a lot of us can relate to, right? Is like identity shifts, especially throughout our life and through motherhood. Because I think our values are always constantly changing, but when we have a family, that's one of our big values and priorities, right? Is family. And you start thinking about your energy and who do you want to be around and what kind of things do you want to be doing? What do you want to get the family involved in? What do you want to learn about? What things do you want to stop doing because they just weren't supportive of you or the family for your own well-being and growth, right? And evolution. So taking that time to pause and asking yourself like, okay, is this for like a past version of myself that doesn't exist, but kind of still holding on to attachment? Or is it like, no, this is going to serve me for growth, for healing, for the family, and asking you those like really deep, more reflective questions, right? To help you align with which way are we
Yes.
going to go here?
Yes, absolutely. Mhm.
I love that. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's amazing. I totally relate to that. What can you think about when you were more conscious of when your healing journey started? What was going on in your life that time that you can recall when your healing journey started and when you started being intentional with that?
Yeah, that's a really, deep question. So, I feel like I was kinda set on this, healing path or, recognizing the need for healing quite young, I would say as a teenager. More due to my parents' intervention and, where I was going. But I think it was ultimately when my father passed about 10 years ago that I was a young adult. My brain was a little more developed too. But I think that that experience, losing my dad to suicide, um, really just broke me open in a way that I could never prepare for and required me to dig to the deepest parts of myself, to be okay with his passing and to start really healing from that.
Mm. I can't imagine how that must have been for you and felt for you and your family. And I'm really sorry to hear that you had to experience that and well, yeah, I mean we just move through life with that and you just try to make it through the day, right?
Yeah, and try to find some peace and understanding. I think a part of me when it happened was kind of stepping into the pattern of seeking again. Seeking, I was looking to connect with him. I was looking for answers and closure, and whether that was, through dreams or things that happened through the day, any sign that he was still there or that I could connect with him and feel him. And, I decided to travel solo and backpack around for a while, and I was on this seeking journey, right? Um,
What do you think you were seeking?
I think I was ultimately seeking, I think, closure. and his passing, but I was seeking to feel him and to have some kind of connection with him, now that he, was gone from this plane. And I actually had a really profound experience on that journey where I was, actively looking out at all the things, is he there? Is it him? Wanting to feel him. And something just came through me so clearly. And it was what you seek is found in the present.
Mm,
What you seek is just in the present moment.
mm. I
It's not
totally
out
believe
there.
that.
It's not something, it's not some place. It's being truly present. And right then I really felt him.
Mm, that's
So that was
beautiful.
very.
There's no other time that we have than now, the present moment. Past is
Mhm.
past, future's not here, right? And that's all that we have is this present moment. And it's like a reminder that he was trying to communicate with you because you were looking in different ways and like, you're right. And he's kind of helping you to come back to
Mhm.
yourself and come back to the present. Oh, that's beautiful. What else do you feel like helped you to, you know, heal through, has been helping you, heal from that, from the grief, from his passing?
Yeah, so, um, my father, he wasn't very present himself, actually. He worked really hard and was successful, but I think he he tried to fill his absence with experiences or gifts for us as kids. One of those was actually horses. Horses have been in our family for a long time. Um, and so I think, when he did pass, I was able to return to one of his greatest gifts, which was, giving me a horse when I was young and coming back to them and really grounding in their presence. They're so intuitive and sensitive. And I remember going to the barn and just holding my horse and crying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I was really able to, return to animal medicine and the gift that they can bring and the healing that they offer just by simply being around. And so I really leaned into, horses more. And even now, I mean, every day I try to get down to the barn and just ground and connect with them and what's real and not get caught up in the busy mind and the to-do list because it's so easy to do as well.
Yeah, what a blessing to have these beautiful sacred animals in your life. They do carry such wisdom and medicine, and I know that there's a lot of people around the world that offer that work, right? That offer healing spaces for people to go and receive their medicine from horses. So for
Mhm.
you, like, how else? Maybe you can kind of take us in like another experience you've had, or how you connect with them. And how that helps you feel like you're healing.
Sure. So I think, um, you know, something that's also been very healing is becoming a mother. In a way, it's been very healing. In a different way, it's also brought up obviously new challenges and a whole other side of things. But, having my kids now and being able to show them what it's like to care for and be around horses and the relationship that you can have with these animals and the respect and the care that really goes into it and teaching them that and the power of it and the importance of it too. So it's kind of a full circle moment.
Yes. Yes, right? I think too, so some of the things that we are working to do is breaking generational cycles, right? And doing things with more intention, not just for ourselves, it's for the children, right? It's for the children and it's for their future as well. Bringing in the new earth, right? So I love that you're doing that you're bringing your kids in and you're teaching them. Whereas before, maybe for you, it was about riding and just learning how to ride the horse and not really having that connection. How does your
Yeah.
relationship compare to before versus now?
Yes, yeah, it definitely has shifted. I was actually, a competitive show jumper back in the day, when I was, in my teens, and my dad set us up for that. And now, we have horses at home, so the kids are mucking the stalls and picking the feet and, helping feed and do waters and, really putting the effort into caring for them to build that relationship and that trust and that respect. And I think that's huge, I mean, you can be
Yes.
an equestrian and a rider, but there's a difference in being like a horse woman, and
Mhm.
having real horsemanship. So I
Yeah.
think, that's a gift. And also just to circle back, I think as as a child, and my father wasn't around much, all kids crave really is their parents' undivided attention and time, right? That
Mhm.
inner child just wants so badly for you to be focused on them and
Right.
give your time and energy to them. And so I think that's something that I now really am working to do with my kids,
Mm.
which is give them the presence and time that they deserve and have intimate, family time and bonding time, which we get to do, through the horses, for example.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I totally 100% agree with that. And again, it's like our well, fast-paced society that makes it really difficult and the lack of support that many mothers don't have. And the way the systems are set up in place to the typical work day, even with the typical school systems of being out there for long, almost 8 hours a day, and then some even going to daycare afterwards. Why? Because their family, has to work because of the way the system is set up. So there's just a lot of things wrong that create a lot of disconnection, right? From as a
Absolutely.
family. So
Mhm.
I love that again, like I always say this, our healing starts with ourselves and at home. And that's what you guys are doing is you're all healing together, as a family, and you're doing things differently than because you know how you were affected as a young child, right?
Mhm.
And you want to do whatever you can to bring presence now that you're aware of some of the things that impacted you as an adult or just growing up, right? How you really want to give your best attention and presence to your children. You're doing whatever that you can that you're able to do right now, which is really beautiful. Yeah. And how does that feel for you as you start aligning with some of these things and values? How's that been for you? That experience and how does that feel?
Well, I think it's always a learning experience and, we kind of we're going on our path. We may plateau or kind of go back a few steps, but I think it's just, for me right now, I'm really trying to compartmentalize certain parts of my life so that they're not bleeding into that time and that presence. So something that I was raised with, is obviously my father was always working. And even when he was around, I could feel that he wasn't truly present. He was always somewhere else. And so
Mhm.
now, as also a working mom and building this app, I catch myself trying to do too many things at once. And so I have to, remember to set time and really be intentional with that time, this day at this time, this is work.
Mhm.
And any time outside of that, this is my commitment to, being
Mhm.
present for my kids.
Mhm.
And I'm constantly trying to it's
Yeah, you
not
got
as
to
easy as
practice
like,
that. Oh my
11
God.
o'clock. Yeah,
Got to practice
it's
that for
yes,
sure.
yes.
So
It's
how have you
every
been
day.
setting up like those boundaries or like what does that look like for you as you're trying to create more space for you and your children to be present, but also, being entrepreneur and in the app and everything? Like, how are you learning how to adapt and navigate that?
Right, so one simple, change I've made is not checking my email until it is an appropriate time to then respond or even shift into work. It's easy. I am not so active on social media. I don't have one personally. We have one for Mone Wellness, of course. But I think so many of us just immediately wake up and instantly check our socials or our email. So what I'm trying to do now is not even check my emails until, maybe it's 9 o'clock and I have some support around the house to help with the kids. And I can, fully focus.
I love that.
Because then,
That's a really
you lose
practical one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's so simple
It's
too,
hard
and
though. It can be hard
it
for
is
some people to
hard,
do.
and
Hmm.
it's amazing what it does when we don't do that. I've realized, I check an email while I'm making breakfast, and they're, "Mama, mama, I want to do this." It's like, you can't. I feel like do anything fully with that broken attention, and our patience maybe then gets a little bit less, and we're
Right.
not able to truly respond in the way that we need to for any of the things. We're just simply reacting in that moment, I think.
Like distractions, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes whatever incoming email or messages from work or et cetera, whatever, instantly fills the mind with thoughts and
Mhm.
some kind of stimulation. So
Mhm.
that already kind of brings us out. Or if it's not that, it's the to-do list that we have of
Mhm.
work or whatever we need to do, right? Which
Mhm.
then again can create that disconnect of not being to be present. So it is really hard. To the moms out there, like practicing presence is very a really challenging thing to do in our today's society, in our today's world. So I just want to share that, I hope you don't feel ashamed or like guilty or anything like that. If you're learning to practice presence, it really takes time and some grace because we were not brought up to practice presence. And so it's like we're training ourselves to do that.
Absolutely.
Whereas children, they're more like it's more intuitive for them, right? Because
Mhm.
obviously they don't have the responsibilities that, well, maybe most may not have those responsibilities. Maybe some do. Being an older sibling or something, taking care of the little ones, I could see stuff like that. But for the most part, they're pretty present. Like
They
they'll
don't
bring you to
have a
the present
to-do
moment.
list. Oh,
Right.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the
Yeah.
other thing, which I find to be helpful, is making a list. Having a piece of paper and writing every little thing that comes into my mind that, I'm juggling and it turns into the monkey brain. I just write it down. And when I write it down, I'm like, okay, I will handle that. And it's out of my mind for
Right.
the time
I don't have to worry
being.
about it. I
Yeah.
don't have to spend time thinking about it. I'll come back to it
Yeah.
when I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So writing the
Absolutely.
list, setting
Hmm.
boundaries around emails and phone, right? So that might be some ways that you want to get started out there to anyone listening. Those might be some small, like practical ways you can start practicing presence is by having a list to avoid any kind of intrusive thoughts that are coming in from the to-do list, right? And just trying it out to see if it works and helps in some kind of way. You might notice a little bit less of a worry around it, maybe. Or like you said, not tending to the phone, maybe give yourself like a okay at so because like you can set a timer for bedtime or
Hmm.
like the bedtime mode or whatever, right? Maybe doing that with the morning notifications, right? Or engaging in the phone in the morning. So those are really helpful tips. I want to go back to the horses, and there's one more question that I wanted to ask is I want to know what have they taught you about healing or just presence? Like what are the horses teaching you? Because they have so much medicine. So I want to know from your
Yeah.
perspective what you've experienced.
Right. Well, I think they've also, really taught me the power of presence because when you're around horses, they're a large animal, and you have to be very careful and mindful and connected to what they're doing so that you don't get hurt ultimately.
Mhm.
When handling
That's very
them,
touching.
because they see something or they
Exactly.
sense something and they could spook, and if you're not paying attention, it could be bad.
They're very
So
sensitive beings, yeah,
their
energetic beings. Hmm.
yeah, so their presence alone just demands presence, uh, because it's a matter of safety. So, there's that. And I think also there's just something energetically about them where it just kind of reminds me of, my human experience. Oh, there's so much more to this existence, on this earth plane now, and all of the animals around and the elements, and, the natural world that I feel our society has, unfortunately really shifted from.
Hmm.
So I find a lot of peace in just sitting with them and being reminded of, the simple things, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's a massive thing, right? Because that helps us see also and feel just how, like, it shows us how much nature and animal connection can support us through our healing journey, right? it can really be a healing part of a really important component, modality, medicine for a healing journey, whatever we are going through. So if someone wanted to receive medicine from a horse or kind of maybe build relationship with a horse or anything like that, but didn't have one, right? They didn't have a ranch or they didn't know anybody who had a horse. What do you think will be some recommendations, do you think, that it could help them maybe connect with finding one?
Right. Yeah, so there's actually a space nearby where we live in San Diego, and that is their purpose. That's what they do. So they have horses that they use for therapy, and you can come and groom them, spend time with them, help take care of them. And so I think there are some, organizations, and hopefully that's growing, where you can go and just connect with them and, receive that medicine, if you will. And I think, if there isn't access to horses, dogs and cats even,
Hmm. Your
um,
own pets, right
yeah,
in your
your
own
own
home.
pets. Yeah,
Or
they're
go
right there.
volunteer if you
Yes.
can somewhere.
Yes, animal shelters,
That's a
those.
great point.
Yeah, you can go and connect and volunteer at an animal shelter, for example, and still get that healing from the animals that you have around. My cat labored with me, my third labor, actually. She was on my back and laying on top of me.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Oh,
they're also very intuitive and
they
seeking
are.
connection.
Yeah, they are very sensitive, energetic beings. Um, it's fascinating because we somehow, I feel like, we only see this Earth like dimension, or they call it the 3D or whatever you want to call it, right? Of like that's what we see. And most of us, maybe some people who are a bit more um have more of their capabilities opened up, whether it's being able to see spirits, or I don't know, auras, or I think that there's something else out there that we are not aware of, and that just because we can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there or doesn't exist, right? Different dimensions or realities or beings and anything like that. And our plants and our animals are also energetic beings. Like they have those auras and energetic frequencies, right? So just because we can't see our what do you call it, your aura, your energetic field, doesn't mean it's not there, right? We just can't see it. And so animals carry that same thing, just as the plants do, right? It's like roses, or maybe you have a particular plant that you can just connect to and you feel grounded, you feel good when you're with it, or smell it, right? Is because they have like those healing abilities for us. I feel like that's also one of the things that we share in common, is like we can help each other, right? And support each other through healing, just with animals as well. If they're in pain, if they're grieving or they're whatever, like we could be there to help them get through. Maybe they're being put to sleep and they're scared. You know what I mean? Like they're very intuitive. And I feel like we could help each other as well through those times. Hmm.
Absolutely. And I always think it's really interesting to, again, a practice of presence, to tune into the animals and the plants that are around you. Um, we have a lot of red-tailed hawks out here, and so every time they come by, I try to just be present with them and just admire them and feel them, or maybe it's a hummingbird, that comes to a flower nearby, and just tuning into the animals that are around, and the plants, different plants are in different places for a reason. Weeds are also
Yes.
very interesting
Yes.
interesting one, because they're there
100%.
to serve a purpose and, possibly, remedy the soil, or chamomile will
Medicinal.
grow along trails, on the border of the trail where the human impact is, and the wild space, if you will. There's always
Um,
chamomile around
oh, beautiful.
here where we are, and it's almost like,
Nice.
the energy of chamomile is to calm down
Right.
and to, relax, and so that
Yes,
plant
the
is offering,
reminders.
yeah, that space as we enter, or potentially cross over the path paved and the one that's not.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's also part of our work. I mean, I know we have a lot on our to-do list and motherhood and we work and all this, but taking time to kind of see what else is out there will expand your awareness, your connection to the earth, to the elements, to the plants, right? Helps offer that medicine. It's like an invitation, like we're here for you kind of a thing, right? Because they are, like they truly are here for us in that way, whether it's spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it, they are truly a holistic medicine. So I love that you're practicing that too and bringing your kids into that and helping them learn as well as like a family, family learning experience. And that helps us as a whole, not just individually, but like globally, right? Collective. Yeah. Oh, I love that. For moms who maybe are grieving or anything that you could share to help mothers who are maybe dealing with the loss of a loved one and postpartum, like you are experiencing that. I mean, your father passed away several years ago, but that ache never leaves. Like, how do you move through your day when emotions are heavy and they just rise, and then you're still tending to your children and taking care of yourself? Like, how are you doing all that? How are you taking care of yourself right now?
Yeah, I feel like, the waves come and it's just one of those things where you kind of just have to ride it out. But the best thing to do for me in those times, or maybe in a low or one of those waves of sadness come, is just return to self-care and, remembering that caring for ourselves is not selfish. It's essential, especially as mothers who are responsible for caring for, our children. It's so cliche, but it's true. You can't fill from an
Yeah.
empty cup. Is that it?
Yeah. Something like along. Yeah, it's true,
Yeah.
right? It is
Uh,
very true.
yeah, and so I think, something simple is just taking a shower with intention, as the water can also be very healing. And so, calling on the healing powers of water to clear our mind and reset. A shower is life-changing for me, and again,
Same
it can be
here.
so simple. Yes, I know, my husband, he fights it sometime. I'm like, "You just gotta go shower and reset," and every time he's like, "You were right." I'm like, "See?" So, or even just washing your hands intentionally and just, like, shaking it off, I feel like is another thing, but yeah, returning to self-care and the little things, changing into a fresh pair of clothes that day, because sometimes, I'm in spit up pajamas for, like, a full day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, "Oh."
And then your
Um,
energy and also like physically in your clothes.
yes, yes, yeah, so it's these little things that really do make a difference, washing our face, brushing our hair,
Basic
um
needs.
the basic needs that we sometimes put on the back burner, getting some fresh air and some sunshine and just having a moment, maybe taking off my shoes and grounding in some dirt or some grass and taking some deep breaths and being intentional with them, breathing in peace and relaxing and, breathing out stress or frustration and just let, again, the natural world kind of take what doesn't serve.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. It's again receiving medicine from Mother Nature and from the earth and from the elements, right? I too have found water to be very healing as well, and whether it's through a healing herbal bath. I
Mhm.
just recently, last year is when I recently started working intentionally with the plants and for healing, and of course for learning and education and traditional ways of my ancestors and what plant is not good for just physically, but also emotionally, mentally, and spiritually too. And the showers alone of calling in the spirit of water to help cleanse whatever energies or whether it's an emotion, right? Because an element of water is about feeling that emotion. Like, is there any emotions that I need to be feeling that I need to release or that I'm holding on to, right? So again, bringing intentionality, is that a word?
It is now.
Yeah, bringing in intention into our everyday, daily basic needs, right?
Mhm.
So that we feel some sense of grounding, of connection, of peace throughout the chaos of and busyness of everyday life, right? Because if we
Right.
don't, we're never going to get it.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
never going to get that peace and calmness and relaxation. Maybe when they go to bed, if you stay up
Yeah.
late, but by then I'm already exhausted, right? But it's like,
Yes.
no, don't wait till they go to bed. Like,
Mm.
how can you or how can we fit that intention of creating a moment of peace, of calm, to connect with the breath, to calm the nervous system that's always stimulated, right? In our
Mhm.
everyday. And
Mhm.
that's some of the work that I help my clients do too. But like, aside from that, it's important to find out what works for you, right?
Mhm.
Basically. And you have your grounding
Yeah.
practices. Is there any
Mm.
others that you feel that you want to share that have helped you to really come back to yourself, to grounding, clearing your mind? Anything else that you want to share?
I think journaling can also be very helpful. Writing things down and just speaking freely, if you will, with pen and paper and off the phone. I mean, it's convenient, of course, to, do it in your notes, and I think that's absolutely helpful. But there's something also about just pen and paper again, and maybe that's just removing us from a screen for a little while, and just letting whatever come out, just letting it flow. So, and therapy, of course, can be very helpful. There's so many different modalities, and I think just connecting with someone and speaking with someone, can
Yeah,
really help us process whatever we're moving through.
absolutely. Helping with our mental health, right? And finding practices that help us regulate our nervous system so we're not feeling as jittery or anxious or pressure all the time. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you're 11 months postpartum, right? In your own words, what is the fourth trimester and what do you think most mothers are not told about the fourth trimester?
The fourth trimester is, really the time that you have with your baby outside of the womb, where they're still very much connected to you and they rely on you. And that varies, of course, with how you choose to feed your baby, whether that's breastfeeding them or formula feeding. That also impacts your hormones, right? And people, I think we are told through our system and the way that the postpartum period works is you come for your 6-week checkup, right? And then
Hmm.
you're on your way. And so I think there's a huge there's a lack of information and education. I think that's doing a disservice to postpartum women and their
Yes.
families, and acknowledging that the postpartum period is like 2 years, you know,
I know.
at
Yes,
least,
exactly. Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
really,
Hmm.
you
I
know,
agree.
yeah, and your hormones are navigating, and again, depending on your delivery and your recovery, and if you're breastfeeding too, like, the hormones are all over the place for a long time. And that's totally normal and natural, and it's okay, and I think we just haven't been, made aware of that and given the space to really recover and be supported in the way that this period demands.
Yes. On that note, what do you think would need to change, or if you could create that, you had the magic wand,
Sure.
what would that look like?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot in our system and our society that needs to change when it comes to maternal, health and wellness and family. Like you mentioned, the school schedules and the work schedules and the family dynamics in the unit, like the schedules don't even align, right? And so it goes like basically it's systemic in every aspect of our life. But something that I am working on, and something that Mone Wellness is hoping to provide is, a resource to help fill the care gap that women aren't getting upon discharge in the postpartum period, and to be a resource where women can receive, expert-backed, evidence-based, and holistic guidance in their fourth trimester. So that's what we're doing. We're trying
Yeah.
to fill that gap.
Well, let's hear about it. Tell us, well, first of all, I'd love to hear how it started and then where you got the name from. So, yeah, what inspired you to
Yes.
co-create that?
Okay, so Um, it, it kind of relates to what I touched on in the beginning about changing your playgrounds and playmates and so on. So I was stepping out of a dynamic in the workspace with another entity that was no longer aligning. And that was a really hard leap. I feel like it's really hard to make those transitions and, break up with, your job or a partner or so on.
Yes. Yes.
Um, it is challenging to do that. Yet when I did it, I had this new rush of like creativity and freedom that came from that breakup, if you will. And that is kind of where Mone Wellness was born. I had this idea along with two friends who are in the industry of women's health. One is an integrative OBGYN, she's an MD, and the other is a dietitian, women's health nurse, and a fitness coach. So we
Awesome.
came together and we said, this is a gap that we see, and we want to help, support women and their families. So Mone is born from hormone.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, pen and paper, all kinds of names and ideas, but Mone came through and that's what really stuck.
Awesome. So going back a little bit to when you started to feel it just wasn't aligned in where you worked in your workspace before. What did that feel like in your body, or what kind of emotions came up, or like how did it manifest? Curious how that started showing up for you until you were just like, no more. That's it.
Right.
Can't do it
It
anymore.
was,
Can't.
yeah, good question. Yeah, so I was involved for about 5 or 6 years. And, over time, the feelings just got stronger and stronger. And those were um, just pure frustration. And in my body, every time we'd get off a call or I was around that environment, I felt like so angry, which, was like coming through as like heat in my body and like getting flushed, like full on fire was coming through. Um, and it was so uncomfortable, of course. And I was like, this is coming up for a reason. And I would just get in these loops of, being so disappointed that, I wasn't heard, I wasn't respected, I wasn't valued, I wasn't, all of these things. And it was this toxic loop. And I was feeling it, viscerally through the
Yeah.
the heat and the anxiety, and it was impacting, my relationships outside of that space too, because I was so caught up in it. Um, so I think, I did a meditation. It was a pretty powerful, like boundary set. And when I was doing that, it just came through so clearly that I needed to leave. And it
You
took a long
received the
time,
guidance. Mm-hmm.
but it came through
Permission.
loud and absolutely. It got to a point where it was like, okay, like you're done. You need to be done now. And the leap is scary, but you know what it feels like to stay, and that's not serving you or your family. I had my two kids. I think I was newly pregnant actually with my third.
Mm,
Um, I was finally in a space where I could receive that and I
that's
was
it.
ready to take action.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
And I
that's
was gifted with this experience on the other
right.
side.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Because I think many of us can relate. We're either waiting for a sign or like, give me the sign. When is it time to move? Or when is it time to quit that job or take on this job or do this next venture or whatever, right? Or praying for a sign or let me know, like, you know what I mean? But, I think one thing that me personally that I'm trying to continue to work on, because it's all these practices like trust and patience, because divine timing is huge, I feel like, but at the same time, we got to do our part and our action as well. So trust and timing and presence to noticing a message like that. But for you, it sounds like it was really clear and you were like, something you couldn't avoid. It was like clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't ignore it any
Yeah.
longer. And
That's so
sometimes that's what it
interesting.
takes, you know, you
Yeah.
have to get uncomfortable enough
Yes.
to make a change.
Mhm.
And if you're
Mhm.
not ready, that's okay. You're not ready, but
Right.
you know, that time may come and
Yeah.
y- we're invited to do something different and trusting that, it'll
Yeah.
be the right path for us. You can't
Yes.
get I mean, staying, you know what happens when you stay in
Right.
something,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Exactly.
You have to be okay with
Yes.
the unknown, and I think that relates to
Get comfortable
control,
with that.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, too and I think part of it was also maybe, the being that I was pregnant with. I think the little souls that are coming in also have maybe their contracts and what
Hmm.
they need as they, come, and so things may shift based on, your children and their needs, and that might be the call to make the change too. So I think that maybe
Thank
she
you for
had
sharing
something
that.
to do with it.
Thank you for touching base on that. There's so much we could get, so much more we could get into that we didn't get a chance to today, but maybe another conversation. But before we end tell us a little bit more about the app. How does it support mothers? And then how do you want them to feel, after using it and downloading it? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so, I would love for women to use this and to feel like they are being educated in a way that moves them to empowerment with their own body, their choices, and they can really embody that, as they move through their fourth trimester and it just into motherhood and some of the things that we touched on earlier, like self-care. So in the app, we have tips, and if you are up for it, it'll send you little tips through the day on your phone, just little gentle reminders of, try to get outside and take
Mm,
that walk, or get
yes.
some sunshine and so on. And so little tips and gentle reminders through the day are offered, as well as personalized guidance based on what you want to work on. So if you're really,
Okay.
you're in the thick of recovery, we have logs for your symptoms so you can keep track of those, provide them to your primary care or at your checkup. We have feeding logs for baby and output as well, so you can keep
Nice.
track of that and also share it maybe with the pediatrician. And so we've tried to make it a really great tool
Great.
for moms to have everything in one place that's for
Mhm.
them and also for baby, so that there's, we can try to, lessen the stress of keeping track of everything and
Yeah.
prioritize our recovery and our well-being and mental health,
Mhm.
with just a very clear, great resource and tool.
Yeah, I love that. Like a one-stop place for the information, for the education, and the, like you said, reminders, because I think that's reminders go a long way.
Mhm.
And when we're in postpartum or just motherhood period, reminders are really helpful too.
Yes.
We get caught up in all the stuff, multitasking, things that we got
Yeah.
to do for the day. So reminders are I don't know how many times like I have to I set goals. Like I work with my clients to set goals around creating reminders for the thing. So they want to create goals for doing the thing, but they need a reminder to help them do the thing. So those reminders are
Yes.
very helpful. I appreciate that you
Yes.
guys have that. That's awesome.
We also
Cool.
send reminders to your partner too. So you can put your
Nice.
partner, your support system's email into the app, and then we will send emails to them with little tips and things that they can do to support you and your unit. And also, they need to take care of themselves too, so they can show up.
I love that. That's so awesome. Thank you. Brooke, any last words of wisdom that you want to share to the mama in postpartum in her fourth trimester that you'd like to share with her, and also where we can find you, the app?
Yeah. Um, the days go by slow, but the weeks go by so fast, I feel like, and the seasons, they're always flowing. So I think just, remembering that it's okay to care for yourself. It's also okay to not feel okay and to reach out to, the system and the support or the resources around you, to help hold you in that time. Um, it takes a village to raise a baby, but it takes a village to also, support a mom and raise a mother.
100%.
So, yeah, you can find us on the App Store and the Google Play Store and monewellness.com, as well as Mone Wellness app for the socials.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll put the links in the show notes, everybody. All right. Well, thank you so much, Brooke, for coming on and sharing space together and sharing your story. There's so much more. I know that you have so much medicine and wisdom on, and you're healing what you've done to heal through many of your experiences, life experiences. Thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure connecting with you and learning about the Mone Wellness app and how it's helping, women and what you guys are doing, the mission. I love your mission to help supporting mothers because we need more of that. We need more of that for sure. Sharing the space with us today. So, if this episode resonates with you all, I invite you to take a moment to reflect. What is one way you can offer yourself a little more care, compassion, or support in the season of your motherhood or postpartum, whatever it is, right? Something small. You're not meant to do it alone. And the healing matters just as much as the care you give to everyone else. So I feel like that's one thing about us mothers is like taking care of others, but really, truly, we also need to, remember and break some of those cycles of we need to also care for ourselves, which is often overlooked. If you love this conversation, please share it with another mama who needs to feel seen and supported. And don't forget to subscribe or leave a review. This helps the message reach more women who truly need it. So you can find Brooke and learn more about her work and the Mone Wellness app in the show notes. So until next time, everyone.